Returneth the Light Husky to banish the dog. Yep. Yeah, essentially. And now the light is back. What's funny is that I was on my phone a little bit this morning. Didn't really notice the power was on yet, and I noticed that was 2% left on my phone, and I was like, shit, you know, I should see if the power's actually on before I let it keep doing that. And then I noticed that, yeah, lights are all back on, so I was like, yay. So I charged my shit up again. So now I have all the ports all like charging and all that, so honestly fucking pissed. So my brain's all like kerfuzzled. Man, because of a stupid fucking mutt. Stupid dumbass dog. Took a shit all over the fucking kitchen, so I'm not happy with him. And he's outside somewhere. In the backyard. Where? I don't care. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I mean, who does? I mean, no one likes doing that. I mean, I sure shit, you know, wasn't really wanting that. So especially this morning, because everything else is actually nice and positive. I mean, also, there was like another thing that kind of grabbed my gear a little bit. It was actually an Onion Nugget comment about like the fucking cop video about the dude and the homeless guy and his dog. But someone's made comments like, actually there's been studies that like pit bulls and golden retrievers are like the most friendly as dogs. I'm like, that's half bullshit. It's like the only time I've ever been attacked and aggressively so by a dog is golden retrievers. Like, the most friendliest, sweetest of boys or the sweetest of puppos have always been pits, shepherds, huskies, rottweilers. You know, like a lot of breeds that are stereotypically seen as fucking hyper aggressive and shit. But the one breed that's seen as stereotypically all cute and friendly and lovable, the golden retriever, is like the most savage piece of fucking shit you can own. That'll like fucking kill you if it could. Because I've had, you know, every time I've had, especially my hand getting shred to shit, both times I've had a golden retriever attack me, it had the look of, I will fucking rip your hand off and eat it. And then kill you and eat you later. Like, if there's ever a dog I will actually unironically be 100% okay with fucking killing, it's a golden retriever. And have no qualm about it. Because those dogs are fucking seriously savage and brutal. Like, unless you, like, physically and aggressively train the fuck out of them so they're not aggressive and they're obedient and they listen to every word that is uttered out of your fucking mouth, you know, no one deserves to have them as a pet. They are fucking unruly and horrible. Like, they don't listen. Like, those are like they're one of the most stubborn fucking dogs I've ever had to like deal with out of any of them. Like, out of any breed, the most stubborn and most aggressive and frankly one of the more violent breeds I've ever had to be around. Like, I've been around hyperactive breeds, ones that are like kind of maybe physically hyperactive, or they want to jump on you all the time and shit like that, and maybe bark at you and be like, oh my god, ooh, you know, do all that shit. I've had dogs like that all the time. Never have I had dogs like want to look at me like it wants to fucking kill me. Like a golden retriever. Like, fuck golden retrievers. They are pieces of shit, dude. I did not like them. Like, the one dog breed I actually straight up don't like. Like, there's plenty of that I think that have flaws. That one I just don't like. Like, I'd be okay with taking, pot shots at him. Like, oh, hey, look, this retriever. Better make sure the community's safe. Alright, cool. Defend themselves or when they're trained to fight, in my experience. Yeah, pit bulls are the reason why they're aggressive is they're trained to be that way. Golden retrievers are naturally violent and aggressive. You have to train them to not be that way. They're the opposite. Like, they're naturally and born aggressive and kind of violent. Like, you have to train it out of them. Every retriever that I ever had to deal with has always been like that. Every single fucking time. And of course, not every experience, but most experiences, guess which dog was blamed? With mine or the retriever? Mine. Because German Shepherds are seen the more stereotypically violent and aggressive dog. And I've seen it even just, walking him around in, like, places like public transit and shit. Like, because there's been times I've had to watch my brother's fucking Golden, and honestly, the looks I get with Zukov, at least when it comes to him looking at people, maybe like, being curious, I get more mean looks of him, even though he's the most sweetest son of a bitch you've ever met, versus a Golden, and everyone's like, oh, look how cute that guy is, and the Golden's like fucking twice his size, and legit inherently far more violent and aggressive. And yet, people want to be like, oh, look how cute that is. And then they look at a shepherd and be like, you better not jump on me, thinking he's gonna like shred them. When the retriever will just straight up inherently likely be the one that will try to shred you. It's fucking stupid. Like, the stereotypes that come with dogs are kind of fucking ridiculous. Well, I guess granted I am doing it for retrievers, but it literally is out of sheer fucking, like, their natural instinct. Like, you have to train it with them. Like, there are people out there that just, one, shouldn't have dogs no matter what breed they are. But there are some people that just can't handle certain breeds because they are just not capable of handling them or training them. Golden retrievers are one of them. Like, you should have a license, to own a retriever specifically as a pet. Well, maybe, frankly, with, like, any pet for the most part, but especially for certain types of breeds that are, known for their aggression and hostility. Like, biologically wise, not just because they're fucking trained into it because of, stereotypical bullshit like illegal dog fights. Because, like, I still have scars all over my fucking hand from the 2 or 3 fucking times that it's been shredded by golden retrievers. This one. And the last 2 times I had to defend my dog from it. So, I guess forgive me if I have a very strong bias against golden retrievers, where I literally don't mind shooting them. if I really came down to it. Like, seriously, like, if there was, like, if I was attacked by them, I would defend myself to kill it. It's like, I don't care if the owner wants to, like, come at me about it. It's like, maybe you should have known better and trained your fucking dog. Like, I am a proper dog owner, protecting mine. Fucking faggot. Maybe it's the ego of having one now, but, like, I swear to God, dude, like, there are definitely some people that should not have pets. They handle big doggo, big doggo's not Zukov. Well, Zukov is kind of a big dog. He's like a medium to large size. It's more of a medium doggo. Well, it's like again, he's like the more to the medium to the, medium up. And frankly, it's like, there should at least be a basic, like, pet license, like, hey, we checked your house, checked your, basic income, you can handle a pet. And that's it. It's just a simple little walkthrough just to make sure that if you want one, the area or where you're living in is okay for it. And that's it, basically. Just like, okay, just like a little quick, approved thing, and that's it. Not even really like a license, but for, like, straight up full-on fucking, like, getting big-ass dogs or, just a specific type of, like, breeds, there probably should be licenses. Because, like, like, some breeds, like, a Belgian Malinois, for example, like, That'd be another breed I'd probably say should have a license for, mainly just because of, not because they're aggressive or anything, but because they literally are so hyper fucking energetic that if you were to have like an apartment or like a tiny little like condominium or some shit like that, it would not be suitable. Like some dog breeds need, it's not, like the whole license idea probably wouldn't be really for a dog's behavior or the owner, but really for if it's actually a suitable place for it. Because honestly, a part of what builds a dog's behavior is the owner and the environment that it's in. If it's in a cramped up space, and especially if it's a more energetic dog, it's probably going to be more hyperactive and, aggressive. And if you're in a very big ass open area and have a dog but don't use it, or don't let the dog have advantage of it, it's going to be the same way. So it's just like, a lot of it also plays in a role of that, how much time you spend with your pup as well. That plays a role. It's more or less people. Like, the whole license idea is, frankly, for humans more so than dogs themselves. Like, retrievers would be fine if people knew how to fucking properly train them. Because I've also been around golden retrievers where they've been fine. And been totally friendly and the sweetest things ever. But at the same time, I still don't like them. Because of my past experiences with them and how they are. My stepdad's last dog, Blue, we had to put him down because he bit a friend of the family who's a Louisiana swamp dog. I mean, like, I wouldn't necessarily outright put an animal down just because it bit you or some shit. Like, I mean, I wouldn't go that far with it, but, like, I mean, unless it was such a reoccurring thing where that dog is just straight up attacking people. Like, if it was like a one-time thing or some shit, or like a, just a freak incident or some shit, like, I wouldn't really, let that, sadly, state law here. You fucking serious? Well, that is just retarded. I get it, but still stupid. That should be the discretion of the victim, I should say. Or, like, taken to court with that if it had to be that way, I suppose. Like a civil thing. But that's just stupid. To be fair, I'm pretty sure there's a similar law here in Oregon, but I'm not too sure. I never had that problem. Though frankly, I don't think it is, though, because I've had my friends, including me, get bitten and shredded to shit by dogs, and the dog is still alive and okay. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure, there isn't a law about that up here. So, yeah. I mean, but either way, I don't necessarily think it is like, oh, a dog bit me. But, like, because Sukov's bitten me before. I mean, not, like, in a hyper-aggressive way, but sometimes when playing around with me, he'll bite a little too hard. I mean, it's like, sometimes a dog will just do that, not out of, like, aggression or some shit. Sometimes it is the case, but not really. I mean, frankly, it's like, I think, at least for me, I can tell the difference between a dog biting out of aggression and wanting to kill or attack versus play or defense. As much as it's hard to do, like, if you're getting attacked with, like, whatever limb is getting attacked by, like my hand, for example, don't move it. As much as you want to, like, clench or try to pry your hand free, do not move your fucking hand. Try to make sure that your hand is with the flow of whatever the dog is doing. Less damage. Because if not, your shit will be shredded to fuck. I said that's current dog likes to groom the cats for fleas, despite the cat's protests. I think Zukov likes to do the same. Though, poor Zukov, like, he's honestly, like, got fleas, like, ridiculously. Though right now it's just a fucking bad infestation. Like, I could tell that it's not just me that's dealing with that, because I've been going to the store looking for, like, flea shit and stuff to deal with, like, flea problems at the house and stuff like that, and there's just nothing. Like, it is just wiped clean. So it's like, fuck. You could just tell when it's a flea season because all the flea shit is just gone. It's like, god damn it. So you end up being SOL. I'm speaking of Zukov. I know he's outside. Like, there's just like a little corner around over here that he's just been chilling in. He's made like a little dirt, like, pit. Actually, I want to see if he's like. I hate ticks more than fleas. The tick problem, honestly, there barely is any ticks. I've only seen one tick ever, and it was when my dad was still doing landscaping back up in Washington. So, like, at least for that, I mean, it's not really an issue, it's fleas. And frankly, like, I hate fleas more than ticks, just mainly because fleas are legit just more of a problem here. I mean, ticks are around here, but like I said, they're, like, at least in this area, like, they're pretty much almost non-existent. Ticks are as common as fleas down here. Shit. Yeah, luckily, they're not really a big thing around here. It will be things like fleas or shit like tapeworms and things like that, but those usually come because of the fleas. So, at least for, like, pests and shit, it's mostly, like, rodents, fucking, mainly rats and mice, and usually with them comes things like tapeworms, fucking fleas, shit like that. So, of course, there isn't really much you can do about it, besides just try to treat fleas when you fucking get them and deal with them. But no, sometimes, like, at least for the flea infestation years, those are the years that they will never fucking go away, no matter what you do, and no matter how much you try. Because I've tried so many different things. Like, the only thing that we basically haven't done yet is just flea bomb the entire fucking house. But it's hard for us to do that because, well, pets. Like, two of our cats are mostly indoor cats and usually just hang out in the house. So, we have to basically cordon them off in one room, flea bomb the whole house, wait for that to all settle, let them go out in the rest of the house, flea bomb the last little chunk of the house, and boom. But, you know, unless we also heavily flea treat the cats, which you can imagine that's a fucking amazing experience, you know, yeah, like, unless we get them too on top of that, and make sure the dog is as well, like, it's like a whole strategic coordinated thing. Like, if you just hit, like, one thing, like, if I just wash Zukov, like, heavy and get, like, 99% of fleas off him, he's just gonna get, like, 80% of it back the next day. You know, if I just did him and that's it. So, it's just like, it's so fucking, it's hell. I see it all the time, see snakes all the time, so we're down here, especially copperheads. There's mostly, like, I mean, there's venomous snakes and non-venomous, like, out here, but the venomous ones you'll see out in, like, the mountains and shit like that, and they're fairly rare. Like, they're mostly gonna be the, coral snakes and shit, you'll see those, but they're mostly gonna be, like, garter snakes and, like, little small boas and stuff. Like, little garter snakes, little mini boas, things like that. If anything, kind of cute snakes. But yeah, I've seen snakes and lizards and things like that around here, but they're all pretty cute. Like, there's a lot of reptiles out here and stuff, but none that are out there wanting to full-on kill you. Or will kill you if they bit you or something. Like, I know there are some venomous snakes out here, but I know one of them's the coral snake, and I think there's a couple others, but they're not that common. And I think most of them are mostly in eastern Oregon and southern Oregon, while the coral reefs, the coral snakes are mostly in, like, the mountains, like in the forests and shit. Zukov! Hey! I'm already not exactly happy with you. You jerk. I mean, you could have done better to let me know that you needed to take a shit, you asshole. You could have done that. Prick. Yeah, I'm kind of yelling at him now. Hey! Hey, knock it off! Alright, hold on. Hey! Oi! What? Would you knock it off? Is there something, there's something for you to go freak out about? Get in here. Come on. Come on, bud. Don't Don't poop in here. Hi. Okay, let's talk about moving to New Mexico after my stepdad licks the bucket. Yeah, he's not gonna kick it. He's gonna do something different and lick it. I mean, honestly, like, New Mexico's probably got its problems. I've never been there. I don't really know too much about the state, but I already know this much. Better than Alabama. I mean, it's probably gonna be more hot and miserable, but, I mean, like, I imagine that it's probably better in a lot of different ways. I'm sure there's going to be cons, you know, as well, but I don't know. I mean, it seems like it would probably be a better outcome, I suppose, or a better situation. Get her to come up here. It's a little bit more chiller. In more of the ways than one. I'm not just talking weather. Shit. Hell. Even as much as I will always endlessly fuck on Idaho, hell, even Idaho will be a little better, because at least it's a lot more closer to Oregon. Feel me? Because, hey, at least it'll be more of a hop, skip, and a jump for you. So once I'm planning on going to Oregon. Yeah. I know I figured that's your game plan either way. Or Washington. Yeah. Though I'd say, especially for, New Mexico for her, I mean, honestly, especially to maybe visit you or vice versa, like, that's also easier. And also, like, especially when it comes to being more comfortable, maybe just being yourself, too, after being in an area where you can be that way. It's easier to be like that, you know, in New Mexico, I'd imagine, versus Alabama. I mean, I don't know how New Mexico's like, but I imagine it similar to Arizona. There's probably a lot of old white people. Just very old-ass white people. So, frankly, the likelihood of them doing anything besides, like, you fucking weird millennial. You communist millennial, you. I mean, besides maybe the occasional haranguement of that, I mean, I frankly, I doubt, you know, that's going to be a major problem. The call of Seattle is strong, but I hear tons of good things about Portland. I mean, like the call of Seattle or Portland is basically, you know, the call of one or the other, because it's about a 2-hour drive to Seattle from Portland either way. So I mean, like I mean, I've taken trips up to Seattle and shit to go to like concerts and shit like that, and or just to have the day out in Seattle for the fuck of it. I mean, it's easily accessible from Portland or vice versa. So I mean, I don't. This is basically also implying that the housing market actually is worth a fuck right now. But, like, I imagine that the housing is probably more expensive in Seattle. That's not saying anything at all, frankly, but if you're also wanting to find someone that's at least somewhat decent to rent at, I'd probably say Portland is probably a better bet. But if that's the case, then you also have to consider that if any area that at least has worth a fuck, you know, places to rent at, it's not exactly going to be a very, you know, safe areas necessarily. Just because there's probably going to be, you know, higher cases of crime or something. My biological brother, who I don't claim for personal reason, lives in Arizona, so I can't go back there. Long story short, my dad knocked up his mom 30 years ago and never called back. Oh. So yeah, that'd be a little awkward. Yeah, I imagine that would be just a little awkward. Though I suppose, I mean, he probably doesn't know what you look like, and probably doesn't really know who you are. I mean, and he blames me. You? Well, oh, what? Oh, so he does know you. Oh, shit. Oh. Well, how the fuck can he blame you for that? What? Dude, that is like some bullshit a little bit. It's like, blame the dad, not the kid. Like, what'd you have to do? Like, what'd you do? What, you get not, like, what, you popped out of him, like, you know, like, what, like he did? Like, oh, wow, Oh, yeah, I'm to blame for that one, sure. I'm to blame because you were a different nut, you know, like, years down the line. So, oh my god. I existed is what I did. Yeah, how dare you exist? How dare you exist? How dare you exist and have him go back to you instead? Even though he left you to knock me up, get me going, have me exist as well. Nah. Let's totally not look at the root cause of this thing instead of, you know, instead we're just gonna look at the other result of the causation and just blame that. It just reminds me of just like how so many conservatives just like scapegoat everything. Instead of looking at the core problems of, you know, things wrong in my life, I'm just gonna literally scapegoat everything that has nothing to do with that. Way back on later for night husky time. Oh yeah, when I get off work and shit. Gotta roll out and do the Venom errands, and then in about 30 minutes I gotta roll out and do my work grind. And hopefully the fucking store director doesn't have a day off today. She's still at least very friendly and actually wanting to work with me and shit, but she just said to see her the next time I get a chance. I'm like, okay, and I kind of figured that she'd just be there yesterday, but found out that was her day off, and I was like, God, fuck. It's like, nice, convenient. So now, I have to hope that she's here today. Because if she is, that's like the first thing I'm gonna like be doing. If I'm helping a customer, like, I'm gonna be like, yo, you over there, stop her. I want to talk to her. Make her wait. Make the store director wait. Because I always like end up like getting to her at like the worst times. So this time, I'm making sure this is settled. Because I want my pay, damn it. I want my proper wages. Because honestly, the pay is like the proper wage that I would or should be making. It's honestly fucking good. So I want that. I want it back. Well, not back. I never had it in the first place, but I just want it. Just give it to me, you sons of bitches. Anyway, oh, whoa, what's that? 3 killed after planes collide? Planes collide in Watsonville Airport. Above it. Santa Cruz County. So in California. Damn. What happened here? Well, I guess there's a whole, like, little...
We'll be here all day today, gathering factual evidence of the scenes. And afterwards, we'll be conducting witness interviews. And then afterwards, we will recover the aircraft to a secure facility where we will continue our factual investigation and gathering stage.
As opposed to a non-factual investigation. I just kind of like the way he was phrasing that a little bit. We'll perform a factual investigation as opposed to a non-factual investigation. I get what he's saying though, but you know, I guess it's just kind of them going into it. I kind of want to see some of this background shit though. I guess not really any details to it though. I'm always into like weird aviation shit like this though, so this stuff honestly does kind of have a weird interest in me. Because honestly, like, I know I follow a few YouTube channels that, you know, will actually, you know, post ATC, you know, recordings and like go through events of crashes and accidents and stuff like that. So honestly, I just have a feeling that some of those channels are, you know, seeing this and being like, oh, time to follow through with this, see what's going on here. You know, trying to look at whatever details, you know, of the incident that happened. I mean, considering that's, I could just tell right there that's like a Cessna 152. Like it's like a little small prop plane. I could just looking at the size and looking at the wing. Yeah, I mean that's what it looks like. I would imagine that's what both of the planes were. Just like two small little Cessna props. If 3 people were killed, I imagine there's someone just doing like a solo flight, and then maybe somebody like a student and and a teacher, like aviation teacher and student maybe. I imagine maybe like one of the planes was a like a student teacher flight, and another one was just a solo flight, but somebody wasn't paying attention. Like, I have to take a guess that this is most likely just a human error situation where somebody wasn't looking at the instruments and navigation and not paying attention properly to ATC communications, or maybe didn't have it set correctly and wasn't paying attention and happened to look over, and all of a sudden, plane, blomp, and you get crashed. At the same time, the other person also, the other pilot, likely wasn't paying attention. So it's just like, again, just straight up human error on this one. Looks like, still, that fucking kind of sucks. Shitty. But especially when it comes to aircraft accidents and stuff, I always have a pretty big interest in it because I love aviation. And honestly, there's a part of me that wishes I could have been pilot. I mean, I still could, I guess, but... with what money? You know what I mean? Like, with what money am I going to go into, like, pilot training, But, nonetheless, it's just like, especially with accidents, it's always, I think, important, to kind of, look into that type of stuff, at least if you have a general curious interest in it, because there are people out there that just are scared of flying, don't like it, have their skepticism of it, but, legitimately is one of the most safest forms of transportation, and usually when these things happen, there's very specific instances or reasons as to why they happen. Obviously not good reasons, but nonetheless, they're as to why it did. And, and knowing how these things have happened is, what is best, to make sure they're prevented in the future. Which... especially honestly with most accidents when it comes to aircraft, it usually is human error. Somewhere in the line, whether it's like due to faulty maintenance or improper installation of computer components or whatever the fuck, human error always plays a role to it. It's just kind of, where in the line did it fall? And usually, I guess luckily, it tends to be because of, usually, due to some sort of a pilot error. And luckily, pilots have to go through a lot of fucking training to do what they have to do. Especially if they're doing, like, commercial flights. So if that's the case, then, usually that's probably just because that person, probably ought not to be a pilot no more. Or they're no longer really capable of being such anymore. Despite, probably their, veteran service. Or maybe they're just, too new. Because I know there's been times where there's accidents where there's pilots who either have just officially qualified or, just about to qualify for flying like commercial aircraft or like cargo aircraft and shit, and then they start doing that because, they decide to kind of like skirt maybe some regulations here and there or some shit like that, and then, accident. But that's also why regulations are so fucking strict when it comes to aviation. The FAA does not fuck around. And for good reason, too. That's another thing I think also libertarians don't understand. It's just like, fuck government regulation. It's like, you realize that airlines and, like, aircraft and pilots, like there would be so many aircraft accidents, fucking, like, pilot error failures. Like, there would just be so much bullshit. It would just be insane with that. Just straight up. I mean, the amount of pilots that, are just trained and then suddenly just, like, pop on the fucking joystick and don't know what they're doing and just, like, just crash as they're trying to land or something. Oh, my God. it would just be horrible. It'd literally be deadly. Like, libertarians' wet dream is just straight up a wet dream of just the waterfall of the blood of all the people that would just die in their society. just because, good lord, dude. Just corporations dumping chemicals left and right, fucking just like airline industries just training people for like 2 days and calling it good and just sending them in the air. It's like, oh god, dude. Why do libertarians get away with advocating that? Why do they get away with advocating the weird shit that they do? They're psychopathic. They're kind of insane. But, you know, with the free market, we'll be able to even all that out because people will leave bad Yelp reviews. Kind of hard to do that when they're dead. Oh god, what's this? Parents were not happy Matt Gaetz hosted an event at a high school. Oh god. Oh no. What? Like, I already have, okay, whoever the administrators are of that high school are immediately suspect, because what made them think having a fucking pedophile hosted event at a school is a good idea? Like, what made them think that was a good idea? Like, what? What?
Parents in Florida were outraged that Matt Gaetz was scheduled to speak at a high school, in person, around high school children. Yeah, so their outrage is completely understandable. This was the annual Academy Nights at Niceville High School, an event where students would be given resources about how to get into service or military school, and Matt Gaetz
Gross.
Was among the individuals who...
Can we just stop doing that in high school? Like, or just in education, period. Can we stop having, like, fucking military thugs, you know, come in and try to propagandize military recruitment to kids? Like, if a kid personally wants to do that on their own, let them figure that out on their own. Like, you know, quit trying to go in there and propagandize and shit.
The students would...
Like, I mean, they did it for my high school. In fact, like, for the, like, 5 days of the school week and shit, like, for my Friday, they would have, I think besides one of the days, they would essentially have, like, you know, every branch on each day, basically, to propagandize their shit. Like, you know, one day, the first day, I think it was, like, the Army, then it was, like, the National Guard, and, you know, and then, it was, like, the Navy, and then it was the Air Force, and then it was the USMC. So, yeah, it was all 5 days. And USMC was on Friday, I remember that much. And, and, like, I mean, honestly, like, the dudes that showed up were actually pretty chill. For the most part, they were actually pretty cool. You know, but just straight up, though, like, I mean, they obviously were there for a main reason, and mainly just to get kids interested and to join the service. That was it. I mean, and it's just kind of, like, a little gross a little bit. It's just, like, honestly, it's just, like, I mean, I get, like, because, like I said, like, there's obviously, you know, like, a lot of kids that would show up, you know, pretty much every day just because, you know, they were already, you know, interested and curious about it and wanted to, like, you know, chat them up with them, you know, and all that shit. Which, again, it's fine. It's like, whatever. Like, yeah, there are going to be people who are going to be into it, you know, from the get-go and want to join it after they get out of high school. But, like, again, you don't need to go out there and try to propagandize it to fucking kids. That's just gross. Ew. Lame. Boo.
Not really the best person who you'd want to be engaging with students, especially high school girls. Nonetheless, he was there. The event took place. But here's what parents had to say about that before this event took place. As Newsweek explains, Florida GOP Representative Matt Gaetz, who is being investigated by the Justice Department in connection with the sex trafficking of a 17-year-old girl, has sparked outrage after it emerged he would host a high school event in his state. The allegations against Gaetz...
Probably do some grooming himself, let's just be fucking honest here. Like, I mean, he isn't just there to try to propagandize military recruitment to kids, he's there to groom. Like, he's probably looking out in the crowd being like, you know, trying to like kind of pinpoint, maybe a couple of high school girls be like, which ones, I could probably, be interested to get, more into our circle. Yes.
So high school.
Ugh, what a fucking disgusting. Like, not even an animal would stoop to such a low, honestly. Like, to call them that would be an insult to just animals everywhere.
Kara Marion, a candidate for the Okaloosa County School Board, to ask, what message are we sending our kids? Marion added that numerous people...
That's okay for literal PDF files to go to high school and propagandize military recruitment / groom their kids.
About Gates' scheduled appearance at the school, specifically regarding the federal investigation he is under. In a video uploaded to Facebook on Saturday, Marion said, these are men and women who have gotten a hold of me, actually. And so, what they've said is, they're very displeased with the fact the Okaloosa County School District is agreeing to have Matt Gates, who is under investigation for sex trafficking. She later added, so it's very confusing when you have a congressman who's under investigation for crimes against children.
But should not be makes you a man, right? Yeah, basically.
To come into our high school and talk.
You gotta be able to have an AR-15 at the age of 18 to be able to kill a bunch of people.
Young men, it sends a very mixed message.
But also, you can't buy a beer until you're 21.
I'll say.
Let that bake your noodle.
Now, they weren't against Matt Gates speaking to high school students because they have a partisan disagreement with him. They don't like his policies, they don't like that he's a Republican and they're Democrats. They were specifically against him because of the potential danger that he poses to children, specifically high school girls, given that he is currently under investigation for allegedly sex trafficking a minor, high school age. So the fact that the school district would invite him to speak at this event is incredibly irresponsible. Now, I'm not sure if they...
That's like, you shoot people, but no beer for you. Yep. And in most places in this country, you can buy a gun and go do whatever the fuck you want with it. But yeah, can't buy a beer. You can't buy a beer. You can vote for one fool or another, but you can't buy a beer. I love that song. That song, Burn Down the Mall, is just really, really just pops in my head whenever I think about, like, 18-year-olds buying guns, but you can't buy beer until you're 21, but also, yeah, just America in a nutshell.
And either way, he potentially poses a danger to these children, so for them to allow him access to children is completely unacceptable. And if I were a parent, I would be fuming. So of course, lots of parents spoke up, but it's not just the potential danger that he poses. They also don't want him around young girls because of the message that it sends after he just recently was condemning, young girls for their looks if they support abortion and whatnot. So let's get to that portion. Marion added that...
Oh yeah, I remember that. He literally looked at... He was specifically targeting like some 19-year-old girl who was, more of a heavier set woman, basically. But nonetheless, one of these activists, fighting for their own bodily autonomy. And he's just like, oh my god, I'm supposed to be, like, lectured by these, like, I forgot what he said, but basically the equivalent, like, I'm supposed to be lectured by these, like, young, overweight, blah, 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 or whatever the fuck. It's just like, bitch... Like, you touch kids. Like, I don't think anything you say has, like, any merit. Because as far as I'm, like, oh my god, that's slackjaw looking like, ugh. Like, there needs to be, like, just a nice, perfectly, just, like, if I had a sledgehammer and I was just, like, alright, it's like a whack-a-mole thing, or one of those, like, kaboom, test your strength things, I'd just be like, alright, let's just have you sideways, and just, like, alright. It just, yeah. And just see, and just go, boom, and just hit, the top of the bell, and, win the big prize and all that, one of those little carnival, yeah. I just imagine his head is one of those little, like, things you use the sledgehammer to, see how high you can make the thing hit the bell or whatever.
Called misogynist about abortion rights activists to an audience at the Turning Point USA student.
More than socially well. Yeah, if they're 18, sure, but, like, because at that point they're an adult. But, or at least, obviously on the legal sense, but it's just like, especially for someone like Gates, like, this motherfucker is not looking for someone who's 18 and up.
Florida last month had raised...
he'll probably be tolerant for 18 and 19-year-olds, but, he has a certain age demographic.
And it added, I'll tell you right now, if my daughter was looking to go to a service academy, I would not want to be having her work with Matt Gates. just from literally the comments he made about women who men wouldn't even want to sleep with them, so they wouldn't even get pregnant to even consider having an abortion because he said they look like a thumb, she added. She continued,
coming from a guy that also looks like a thumb.
but to put kids in a position where they are going to have to ask this person for a favor, if you will, hey, can you pick me? What message are we sending our kids? Yeah. And look, to be completely honest, I would have a problem with Marjorie Taylor Greene speaking to high school students. This is a vile individual. She lies. She's deceitful. She incites harassment against marginalized people. But that alone, you know, if that doesn't make you...
And also high school shooting victims as well.
Twice about inviting someone like this divisive, to a high school event, the fact that Matt Gaetz, you have that added issue of him being under investigation for alleged sex trafficking of a minor, it just makes matters so much worse. But the plot actually thickens because a viral post on the subreddit 2X chromosomes details how one person actually sent a letter to the superintendent of this particular school, and when he got back to her, well, he challenged her on her objections about having Matt Gaetz, and she later found out in an update that there was this massive conflict of interest because Matt Gaetz revealed that he's actually friends with the superintendent that she talked to, who by...
Oh my god. Wow, Jesus, it really does thicken. Oh my god. Well, that explains why he was there in the first place. So you have, like, this fucking weird-ass, like, superintendent who's buddy-buddy with... Oh my god, yeah, so this was partially a fucking grooming, scheme. Like, straight up, honestly, this better be a part of the investigation for sex trafficking, because I guarantee you this is what he was doing. This is why he was fucking here. Like, I guarantee it. Like, the whole, oh, I'm propagandizing for military service is just a surface fucking cover. That's it. Oh my god, this is so fucking freaky. Oh my god, the things that this person needs to happen to it,
defending his appearance here. So, what exactly is going on here? Was he invited because he's in cahoots with people in this particular school district? Why exactly was he granted access to high school children? That's a question that we should all be asking.
Because the superintendent being buddy-buddy with him, obviously, I mean, it's definitely because of that, but it's also because of they're probably, or at least that superintendent probably plays a role into this whole sex trafficking scheme. He's under investigation for. Honestly, I guarantee that. So, I mean, they're why would a fucking straight up pedophile who's, looking at, or at minimal a hebeophile, looking at, teenagers and shit, wanting to groom them and fucking sexually abuse them and shit, be out of fucking high school being friends with a superintendent of a high school? Why would that be the case then? For any other reason. It's just it's just a simple, Occam's razor in my mind of that. It's just just makes it even worse. If it was just on a whim and just because they happen to maybe be politically, ideologically aligned, some of the administrators happen to be hella conservative and like the guy, so they're like, oh, well, we don't know or anything about that, we're just, we just like, the fact that he's very strong about our military service and we want to encourage that, blah, blah, at least then there would have been still more of a cover. At least have a benefit of doubt, but not, this honestly just makes any of that bullshit. It just makes it obvious that shit's just a front. God, this shit makes me fucking heebie-jeebie.
Should not exist, right? And even if there is that conflict of interest, if you know someone who's under investigation for allegedly sex trafficking a minor, perhaps you might reconsider him as a guest because of the optics at a minimum. But no, this superintendent challenged this individual with actual concerns, with reasonable concerns. Is that not completely insane? I mean, Jesus Christ. Now, there thankfully was a lot of pushback at the event because the Facebook group Women Against Matt Gaetz, which has now more than 10,000 followers, announced that it was going to hold a press conference outside of the event, which they did, and they wanted to address the safety of students and also demand that Congress suspend any events that Matt Gaetz will have going forward with minors, given the potential danger that he poses to them.
No shit.
Regardless of the protest, regardless...
How about we just suspend it from the holding events, period?
The objections raised by parents, he spoke anyway. I mean, isn't Florida the state that's all about parental authority?
They are, as long as you're for the hyper-Christo, far-right, puritanical, fucking indoctrinary bullshit that, you know, they want to enforce. If you're against that, then you're just a weird, woke, grooming propagandist, and you're not a real parent, and you're just fucking a weirdo, and you're spreading fake news and trying to defame our proud patriots.
Because when it comes to potentially endangering children, they're not going to take those concerns seriously. It's ridiculous. Now, look, to be very clear, we don't know if Matt Gaetz does pose a danger to children.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, maybe we officially, for a shadow of a doubt, maybe we don't know, but yeah, I think just the virtue of everything that orbits around him, I think it's safe to say that, yeah, he is.
Rightfully so, while he's currently under investigation. If it is the case that the Justice Department concludes their investigation and they determine that he's not culpable here, then fine. But currently, when we don't have that information, when we're working with incomplete details here, when we know that one of his buddies, who he was in contact with, was convicted, I'm sorry, this is just completely unacceptable. So the parents...
I mean, it just makes it more and more that the whole allegedness isn't exactly alleged.
Right to protest. The parents have a right to raise objections, and...
I mean, it really is, because it's just like... I mean, for as much as they cry about protecting kids and then, like, projecting how much, you know, these groomers, are actually these trans people or these queer folk, you know, trying to propagandize, you know, degeneracy and sexual promiscuity to children and whatever the fuck. Like, it's all just outside of just their bigful, hateful garbage and spreading that shit, it's just a front, you know, to hide the fact that they're the ones who are actually grooming kids and are trying to propagandize them and, you know, even in more sinister ways, you know, even sexually groom them, you know, especially for being handmaidens and being little fucking incubators to make more. It's just like, I mean, it's all just like a front, you know, for their projection. It's because of how much of a two-faced motherfuckers they really are. And I guess, considering how much they're just, like, mask off of everything, I guess I am kind of glad of that, because, I mean, they have no problems being the big two-faced motherfuckers that they are now at this point. Because they're just so cognitively dissonant that they aren't aware that they really that are much of a two-face to everybody. If this investigation showed no crime, then obviously fine, but suspect, yeah. I mean, if there truly wasn't anything, I mean, honestly, I would think that, you know, that investigation would have been absolved by this point. But it's been going on for quite a while. Like, I'm pretty sure this investigation has been going on since just near at the very end of Trump's tenure and shit, like during like 2020 and shit. Like, I mean, it's been going on for a minute now. So it's like there's something to it if they're, you know, taking this long, you know, to investigate and make sure that, you know, there really ain't anything.
Confirming his appearance here should be ashamed of themselves, because this is completely unacceptable, completely disgusting, and Matt Gaetz should be nowhere near high school children until we can confirm that he doesn't pose a danger to them.
But he does. I mean, honestly, like, frankly, like most politicians do, just with the sheer fact that they want to essentially make sure that they woo them over to their idea of being okay with the status quo and having every little penny and dime and hard-earned labor that they do is sucked right out of them. Which, that in itself harms them, just in very different ways. Not in the gross, fucked up Matt Gaetz way. Ugh. But, it's pretty much about 2 o'clock, y'all. So I think I'll get myself this bowl smoked up, and, yeah. Guess got cool for now. Then head back for the next one. With our light, for it has returned. Ugh. And I'm definitely going to have to, here very soon, you know, sift for all these fucking things. I'm at least gonna let that freezer kind of chill for a minute before we're sitting for that, because that's gonna be a major bitch. But anyway. At least for this point, like I said, calling it good. So, peace out, and I'll be back around next one when I come back vlog. So.